All right. Oh, we're starting.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Welcome to Fun and Friends. I'm Avalon.
I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Jasmine.
And welcome to our channel.
Welcome.
And my adult apple juice.
So what happened in the last chapter, Jazz?
Alright, recap of last chapter. Everybody was sent to their rooms on both sides, and a little mysterious card convinced the Nevers that the Evers were going to attack. And there's another card that sent the Evers to attack the Nevers. And they were
card.
black and glittery. Yeah. So I think we know who those were from. Cough, cough. But the Evers decided to come attack the Evers first. And Agatha tried to convince them to stop, and they did not. So
and
she ran over to the Never turf to warn them.
Their ball.
And it turned out they're having a no ball. Where it's a ball, but with no rules, and, you know, people not in fancy dresses can attend, and...
Just more fun.
Yeah. Oh, another side note, when Agatha was escaping, the sidekick to Sophie helped her go down the...
Yeah, Hester.
It was Hester? I thought it was the little gremlin.
Oh, no, I thought you meant when they were going to the ball.
No. COVID. Sorry. Allergies. We have Santa Ana winds on the West Coast, guys.
This time of year, so super dry.
Kicks our butt. And full of pollen.
Yeah.
Except I have two air purifiers in the house because of that.
Are they even on?
Yeah, they're on.
Oh,
They're
okay.
on all the time. Otherwise, I have that weird asthma thing that happens now. Oh, getting older. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's because I secretly had coronavirus and it messed up my lungs, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Agreed.
Because it didn't happen before that.
No,
All right.
I have asthma.
2 chapters left, guys.
Almost there.
Yay! All right, chapter 29. Beautiful Evil. Agatha's eyes flashed open to the shock of a glacial cold. She was on her back, sealed in a frosted glass coffin. Dozens of blurry silhouettes loomed over her. Panicked, she lurched up, but her body was frozen. It wasn't glass. It was ice. She tried to inhale more air, but gagged. Her eyes bulged, her cheeks went blue. The dark shadows parted, and a pink specter floated through. With her tongue, Agatha breathlessly wiped the frost clear. Sophie, bald and grotesque, smiled down at her, a dim room axe in her hands. As Agatha took her dying breaths, her eyes pleaded for mercy. Sophie gazed at her through ice, ran her fingers through Agatha's entombed face, and raised her axe. Somewhere, Hester screamed. The axe smashed through the ice, shattering the tomb and stopping the hair from Agatha's face. She plunged to the wet floor, heaving for breath. Freezing a poor princess? Sophie sighed. That's no way to treat our guest, Hester. The arrows. It was you, Agatha stammered, crawling back. You brought me here to kill me. Kill you? Sophie looked hurt. You think I can kill you? Across the room, Agatha saw Hester huddled with Annadel and Dot, gawking at their once roommate, now bald and a shriveled hag. Truth is, I want to hurt you, Agatha, Sophie said, melting the axe away with her glowing finger. But I just can't. She studied the rotten face on a balloon. My behavior last night was poor. Poor? Agatha coughed. You pushed me through a window. Wouldn't you have done the same? Sophie said, peering at Agatha's blue gown in the balloon. If I took everything that was yours... Sophie turned, pink gown glimmering. But this is your fairy tale, Agatha. And either we end it as enemies or we can end it as friends. Friends? Agatha sputtered. The schoolmaster said it was impossible, and perhaps both of us thought him right, Sophie said, skin cracking around warts. But how could he ever understand us? Agatha recoiled in disgust. Sophie nodded. I'm ugly now, she agreed softly, but I can be happy here, Agatha. I really can. Where we belong. You're good, and I'm evil. Her eyes drifted around the decorated hall. But evil can be beautiful, can't it? Torchlight flooded the windows. Sophie, Ever is at the gates, Annadel shouted, looking out. revenge, Agatha said, quivering. You said you wanted revenge. But how to lure good here, Agatha, Sophie said sadly. How else to show them all we wanted was a ball of our own? Sophie, they're coming, Dot screamed. Beneath her feet, Evers rammed the castle doors. And now we'll end all of this, won't we? Sophie said, drawing a gnarled fist from her dress pocket. Agatha's eyes widened. Something was in her hand. She's upstairs, the others had broken in. Agatha, Sophie said, prowling towards her, fist tight. Kill the witch, Evers cried, storming the upstairs. Sophie reached out for her spotted fist. My friend, my nemesis. Agatha cringed. Sophie unfurled her bare palm and sank to one knee. Will you dance with me? Agatha lost her breath. Boom! Evers bashed the hall doors. Sophie, what are you doing? Hester screamed. Sophie held out her withered hand to Agatha. We'll show them it's over. The door splintered. One dance for peace, Sophie vowed. Sophie, they'll kill us all, Hester shrieked. Sophie kept her hand up. One dance for a happy ending, Aggie. Paralyzed, Agatha looked at her as the door locks shattered. Sophie's warts gleamed with tears. One dance to save my life. On three, Tedros roared outside. Sophie gazed up at Agatha with wide coal eyes. It's me, Aggie. Can't you see? Shivering, Agatha searched her ugly face. One. Agatha, please. Agatha stepped back, terrified. Please, Sophie begged, face cracking. Don't let me die a villain. Agatha shrank back from her. You're evil. And the good forgive. Agatha froze. Are you good? Sophie breathed. Two. With a gasp, Agatha clasped her hand. Sophie wrapped bony arms around her and pulled her into a gliding waltz across the floor. At Hester's frantic cue, Revan's bunkmates struck up a wobbly love song. You're good, Sophie, Sophie panted, head on Agatha's shoulder. I won't let them hurt you, Agatha whispered, holding Sophie tight. Sophie touched her cheek. I wish I could say the same. Agatha looked at her. Sophie smiled darkly. Three. Tedros smashed through the doors at the charge of a mob, and with a beastly cry, raised his sword over Sophie's back. Death to the wit! Then he saw the waltz in full bloom. Sophie twirled to him, Agatha in her arms. Tedros dropped his sword. Poor Teddy, Sophie said, silencing the music. Every time he finds his princess, turns out that she's a witch. Tedros looked at Agatha, stunned. You're with her? She's lying, Agatha screamed, flailing to break Sophie's grip. How do you think she survived her fall? Why do you think she tried to stop your attack? Sophie said, hugging her tighter. Yes, Teddy, I'm afraid your ball date is also mine. Tedros followed Sophie's eyes to the banner over the hall. Evers blanched behind him. Don't listen to her, Agatha shrieked. It's a trap. Agatha, it's okay, darling. You can tell him, Sophie said. She turned to Tedros, exasperated. She wanted to wait until she had the sword to your throat. Tedros looked at Agatha's eyes widen. It's not true, she cried. I have proof. She shriveled. Hester, Dot, tell them. But Hester, Dot, and the rest of the Nevers were glaring at the good army, wielding deadly weapons for a massacre. Hester looked back at Agatha and said nothing. Agatha saw the light in her prince's eyes dim. Behind him, all armed, Evers turned their weapons towards Sophie, to her. No, wait! She broke free and fell into Tedros' arms. You have to believe me, I'm on your side. Really? Sophie mused. Then how is it that your prince locked you in one tower and you're here in another? Agatha felt Tedros' arms harden. She looked up at his bloodless face. Answer her, he said. I came to help you. I climbed down. Climbed? Sophie cackled. Down that tower? Tedros followed the eyes to the sky-high spirals of good. There were arrows, Agatha sputtered. I don't know why she's being so bashful, Sophie said, scratching her head. She came up with every step. The pranks on Good, your meeting in the woods, the circus attack, all parts of Agatha's master plan to make you think she was good. Oh, except for that lovely new smile. That was black magic. Agatha couldn't breathe. Only the best evil can disguise as good, Sophie said, glaring at her. Agatha's even better than I. Eyes wide, Tedros pulled away from Agatha. Princesses wouldn't question my authority, he said, glowing red. Teddy, wait, Agatha begged. Princesses wouldn't question if I was a man. Look what she's doing to you. I knew you were a witch, he said, voice cracking. I knew it all along. Don't you trust me? Agatha wept. My mother's asked my father the same question, Tedros said, battling tears. But I won't make this mistake. His eyes darted to Excalibur between him and her. The prince lunged for it, but Agatha grabbed the sword first and leapt to her feet, thrusting out. Evers pulled the weapons in horror. See? Sophie grinned, sword to throat. Agatha looked at her, then Tedros staring at his own sword in his face. She dropped it. No. I didn't mean to. Tedros swelled with blood. Prepare to attack! Agatha backed up. Tedros, listen to me. Tedros grabbed Chadwick's bow. Tedros, wait! I'm worse than my father. Tedros looked up, eyes glistering. Because I still love you. He pulled an arrow at her heart. No! Agatha screamed. Fire! Evers launched stones, darts, oil at the defenseless Nevers as Tedros unleashed his arrow for Agatha. Sophie flicked a lit finger just as it speared her chest. The weapons all turned into daisies and floated to the ground. Cowering Nevers looked up, stunned to be alive. Hunched among them, Agatha slowly turned. Learn that from my favorite princess, Sophie said softly. Agatha crumpled to the ground in sobs. Tedros glanced between them, dread flooding his face. Sophie unleashed a devilish smile. Never very good at those challenges, were you, Teddy? No. Tedros fell to his knees, grabbed weeping Agatha in his arms. She pushed him away. Now that's an ending. Prince tries to kill his princess, Sophie revealed. She picked up the daisy meant for Agatha's heart and gave it a rapturous sniff. Lucky evil was here to save the day. From the floor, Tedros gazed up at her, heartbroken. Which begs the question, of course. Sophie licked rotting lips. What happens when evil becomes good? This time, when she smiled, Tedros saw glimmering white teeth. He looked up in shock. In front of his eyes, Sophie's warts magically sloughed, her deep wrinkles smoothed until her creamy peach skin glowed with youth. Her hair blossomed out of her shiny skull in a cascade of blonde ringlets, and her lips thickened with juicy sheen. Agatha slowly peeked through the hands to see Sophie's eyes blaze emerald green, her shriveled body bloom into a grand villain, until the grand villainess loomed over her in a pink ball gown, more radiant and ravishing than ever before. Leave now, Agatha warned, but the Evers were all paralyzed, staring at Sophie. Cringling, Agatha turned.
Cringing.
That looks like cringing. I don't know.
Cringing.
Cringing.
I don't know. Okay, if you say so. I don't know how it's spelled, but... Hester looked back at her. Dressed now.
No more adult juice for you.
Speaking of which, I'm going to have some more of my adult apple juice. Hester looked...
slurring by chapter 30.
I barely drank any
I'm
of
messing.
mine. Hester looked back at her, dress now pink. Magically, her thin hair sprouted into long, thick trellises. Her sallow face gained fullness. Her tattoo restored to magnificent red. Next to her, Annadale's white hair went chestnut brown, her red eyes sea green, while Dot's rotund body grew hourglass curves. In reflective balloons, Hort watched his jaw squirt, his chin dimple, his dumpy black robes melt into blue Everboy coat. Revan saw his oily skin clear. Brone lift his shirt to see rippling muscles, Arachne's long fingers over her ran 2 fingers over her new eyes. Mona touched smooth ivory skin until all around transformed. Villains gaped at each other in good uniforms. Sophie gazed down at Agatha. I told you, evil can be beautiful, can't it? Retreat! Tedros yelled, backing up his army. We're not finished yet, Teddy, Sophie thundered. You and your army invaded a ball. You and your army attacked a defenseless school. You and your army tried to kill a room of poor students trying to enjoy the happiest night of our lives. Which leaves another question. Retreat now, Tedros cried. What happens when good becomes evil? Screams exploded behind Tedros. Agatha swiveled to see Beatrix screech with pain as her back hunched with a crack. Then her hair went white, her face pock-marked with old crones, and her pink dress sagged into black over shriveled bones. Behind her, all the evergowns and suits slowly rotted to evil black smocks. Chaddock grew metal spikes all over his body. Millicent sobbed as her skin turned green. Rena shrieked and itched as her scab-covered cheeks. Nicholas staggered around, one-eyed and humped. One by one, the Evers who attacked the villains all turned ugly. Agatha, the only one immune from punishment, until at last Sophie leered back at Tedros, bald, scrawny, hideously scarred, in front of the army of villains. All hail the prince, she cackled. Beautiful Nevers pointed at Evers and joined in a chorus of triumphant laughter, annihilating the legacy of defeat. Agatha grabbed a fallen sword and pointed it at Sophie. Your war is with me. Let them go in peace. By all means, darling. Sophie smiled. The doors are open. The repulsive Evers fled for them, all except shriveled, scraggly Tedros, now blocking their way. Please, Teddy, end this war, Agatha pleaded. I can't leave you, the prince croaked.
I think you skipped a page. Did I? Yeah.
You did.
Oh, the prince croaked. Agatha looked into sad, beastly eyes. This time you have to trust me. Tedros shook his head, too ashamed to fight. Retreat! He choked to his school. Retreat now! With an agonizing cry, he led the monstrous Evers for the doors. The doors slammed in their faces. Oh, you really have to learn your rules, Sophie sighed. Tedros and his army turned trembling. The evil attack, the good defend, Sophie said. You attacked, she smiled. Now we defend. She sang 3 high notes. Agatha suddenly heard grunting outside, louder and louder, until her eyes bulged with recognition. Run! She screamed. The doors burst open, and 3 colossal rats smashed into Tedros' paralyzed army, grim at their reins. The snarling, shrieking rats, big as horses, bucked fleeing Evers into the walk, knocked them down the stairs, hurled them through the glass window into the moat below. Before Valor boys could draw their swords, the rats trampled them like toy soldiers. And here I thought my talents would go unnoticed, Annabelle said to Dot, gobble-smacked. The thorn dart whizzed between them. The girls turned to see Tedros and ugly Evers frantically grab their weapons. Fire! Tedros howled. Dot dove from a hail of arrows as beautiful Nevers fought back the curses, and the 2 schools clashed in weapon-to-spell combat. As darts flew, swords deflected, lightning and fingers on both sides lit up colors. The rats ripped free from Grimm's reins, flinging Ava into a chandelier, gnashing a bite into Nicholas's back. Grimm swiftly took flight and hunted Agatha through the hall with flame-tipped arrows. She sprang behind a pillar, pointed her glowing finger just as he let one fly. The arrow turned to a fly trap and snapped on yowling Grimm's hand. Agatha swiveled to see hideous Beatrix, Raymond, and Millicent quailing next to her. If you could turn arrows to flowers, Beatrix said tearfully, can you turn us pretty again, too? Agatha ignored her and peeked from behind the pillar into the roaring carnage. Colored spells rocketed between the 2 sides, littering the floors with stunned bodies. Against the window, 2 rats cornered gaunt Tedros and his shivering mates, flashing razor-sharp teeth. Agatha whipped to the girls. We have to help them. There's no point, Millicent mewed. Look at us, said Raina. We have nothing to fight for, Beatrix snuffled. You have good to fight for, Agatha cried as the rats devoured the boys' weapons. It doesn't matter how you look. Easy for you to say, said Beatrix. You're still pretty. Our towers aren't fair and lovely, Agatha lambrished. They're valor and honor. That's what good is, you stupid cowards. They gaped dumbly as Agatha surged into battle, dashing to save the boys from the rats. Something slammed into her and flung her against the wall. Dazed, Agatha looked up to see Sophie astride the biggest rat of them all, charging for her. Agatha tried to find a spell. Too late. Beatrix jumped in front of the rat, thrust out her hand. Magical rain burst from the ceiling, soaking the floor. The rat slipped, careened into attacking nevers, and Sophie crashed into the floor. Another thing about good, Beatrix smiled at Agatha, with Raina and Millicent by her sides. We need each other. Sophie looked up to see Evers, finding their courage to beat back the topped nevers. Chaddock and his body spikes to ram the rat through the heart. Tedros scaled another's tail to stab its neck, while the Evers bound the cowering nevers with their black tunics and their belts. Suddenly, their own hands and feet were bound magically with vines. You forget we're in a fairy tale, a voice said behind her. Struggling, Sophie turned to see Agatha standing over her, finger glowing. In the end, good always wins, Agatha said. Sophie slacked both her vines. And so it does, she said, gazing at Agatha. Then Agatha saw Sophie wasn't looking at her at all. She was looking past her. The hall's last mural painted masses kneeling before the story and glowing on the schoolmaster's hands like a star. A wicked smile crept across Sophie's face. Unless I write the ending myself. She stabbed a glowing finger, and rain puddles on the floor instantly deepened, knocking Agatha and both armies off their feet. The students tread water, trying to keep their heads above, but the water rose higher and higher to the ceiling high sea, until they were about to drown. Cheeks puffed, turning blue, they spun to Sophie, blocking the shattered window with her bound body. She smirked impishly and then let herself fall through. The flood blasted through the window, and 200 students cascaded out of the tower into the freezing midnight air and splashed into the moat below. Instantly, the war resumed in the putrid sludge, but their faces and clothing covered in it. The students couldn't see each other in the weak dawn light. Hester shoved Annabelle's face in the slime, thinking she was an Ever. Beatrix punched Raina in the jaw, thinking she was an Ever. Chaddock suffocated the closest thing to him, Tedros, it turned out, who responded by sinking his rotted teeth into his best mate's neck. The rules broken so rampantly, the students began to change from pink to black, black to blue, ugly to beautiful, beautiful to ugly, back and forth, faster and faster, until no one had the faintest idea who was good and who was evil. None of the foes noticed that far into the bay, a girl in pink climbed the schoolmaster's tower brick by brick, pulling herself up by Grimm's arrows, and that far beneath a prince climbed after her, silhouetted in moonlight. Upon closer look, the prince of raven hair, iron will, dodging Cupid's arrows in a billowing blue gown. Upon closer look, it wasn't a prince at all.
Dang.
Her billowing blue gown is Agatha.
Probably.
That's what she was wearing, was a beautiful blue gown. From
The transformation.
when they went to the circus, she had all
Dressed
dolled up.
Yeah.
And she was in like a beautiful dress. Because we were talking about the pretty blue
Yeah.
dress like a couple chapters ago.
Yep. That was really eventful.
Dun, dun, dun.
It was really eventful.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of
Totally make it blue, make it pink, make it blue, make it pink.
yeah, but the whole question of the story is like what makes good and what makes evil evil.
Yeah.
And so like this is kind of the like chapter where it's like showing that they're both,
You can be either.
you can be either one. There's not really a you are good or you are evil.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also just with human complexity, with our mindsets and emotions. We're not always nice.
Yeah.
We don't always make selfless decisions all the time.
Well, and the schoolmaster also said, like, we don't know what side the schoolmaster is on. Is he good or is he evil? Maybe he's not either.
Maybe he's neutral.
All right.
Well, let us know what you guys think below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, follow us on our Instagram page, Fun and Friends as well. And we leave updates us there when we post videos, if we're delayed for whatever reason, whatever's coming up that's most relevant to look forward to. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.